The case is against the High Command of Umkhonto we Sizwe, the ANC's military group. The government claims these accused members are responsible for sabotage, saying it was meant to cause a violent change and an armed invasion to overthrow the government. When asked for his plea, Mandela stated that the government was the one that truly belonged on trial, not him. He did not plead guilty. In court, Mandela didn't deny his actions but explained that peaceful options had been exhausted. He said he was ready to die for his people's freedom. His speech was very emotional, and he held strong to what he believed. Instead of a death sentence, the court gave Mandela and his comrades life imprisonment. Relieved he wouldn't be sentenced to death, he turned to hold his wife's hands in the courtroom. With his old mother also present, he bid them farewell as he began his life imprisonment. Mandela and the rest of the ANC were moved to Robben Island in 1964 to start their prison terms. Right away, the head warden made it clear he wouldn't stand for any of the resistance they'd shown in Johannesburg. He told them they had zero rights on the island and he'd make them regret it if they crossed him.
Bad, because nobody on the island gives a shit.
Once inside, they received shorts and were led to their cells. Mandela watched the officers, noting how mean and prejudiced they were towards the prisoners. Life imprisonment hadn't really kicked off yet, but it already felt like pure hell. When Mandela saw his own cell, he observed its filthy and uncared-for state, knowing he had no choice but to accept it in this white-controlled land. As time passed, Mandela started to come to terms with his fate and work on himself. He began a regular, demanding workout routine until he was steady. He worked hard and kept the spirits of Walter and the others up. Later, the prisoners were sent out for labor, digging tough rocks in conditions akin to slavery, where white officers treated black prisoners as servants for no good reason. Mandela, Walter, and their comrades stayed firm and resilient, completing their work without argument. Yet this wasn't always the case. One day, an officer provoked Mandela by mocking Winnie, who was now alone. Mandela tried to attack the officer, but Walter held him back, telling him firmly not to ever let his anger get the best of him like that again. His family's letters were withheld, and the guards subjected Mandela to mental torture. At the same time, the government intentionally tormented Winnie, as police frequently broke into her home, searching for anything to tie her to resisting the ruling party. One day, Mandela received a newspaper reporting that Winnie had been taken in for questioning. He felt accountable for all her suffering. Though deeply saddened, he was powerless to intervene. When it was mail time for prisoners, Mandela found his own letters had been cut up and ruined, deliberately preventing him from reading them. This deliberate act by the warden left Mandela in grim silence. At night, he replayed memories of Winnie and his son, yearning for their love. Yet, in the middle of the night, wardens burst in unannounced, making the prisoners strip naked and stand outside in the rain. Mandela knew this was totally unacceptable. He warned them he could report them to their superiors, insisting they had no right to treat prisoners that way. The next day, after his complaint to the head of prison services, the head of Pretoria prison came to Mandela's cell. When asked if he had anything to say, Mandela told him the place was a mess and the wardens were just drunken thugs. The colonel answered that he owned 5 farms, had money, and could do anything he wanted. He added that the prison guards were simply doing what they were told. Before the colonel left, Mandela asked for long pants, since all the prisoners had been made to wear shorts from the day they arrived. The colonel walked away with a smile. Later, Mandela was called off duty because someone had come to visit. It was Winnie. He was cautioned by the warden to speak only about family matters. Sitting down, he asked Winnie how she bore the arrests and the pressure. She replied. She told him that the arrests were usually timed for when their children returned from school so that the kids would come home to an empty house. She also mentioned that children were only allowed to visit their fathers when they turned 16. However, since their children were 5 and less years old, it would take a long, uncertain time before they could visit. She also shared that his mother, Madiba, was sick and that people are saying she might die soon. The news Mandela received was very upsetting. However, before he could look at her for long, the warden shut the window between them. The warden told Mandela that their time was finished, and sadly, he went back to his cell. Things got much harder for Winnie after that. In 1969, Winnie was arrested, taken away from her 2 daughters, and kept all alone in a cell. Her capture wasn't even at an official time. They arrived after dark to remove her from her kids.